thanks for inviting me. I feel like I represent the token Luddite or relative Luddite compared to the rest of the panel participants. I've been invited here as an artist in residence, as a person who's less familiar with the technology, and to experiment and explore using the skill set of people, assistants in the studio, to see what that might inspire or sort of create in collaboration. I've brought some slides just of various groups of work where I had some images that show some of my process, and at the end I'll talk more about my reflections that have been considerably enhanced by my experience here working with people, with the technology, and with the visitors who respond to the work in the artist studio. When I was putting these slides together, I was thinking about how, if I had technology then, how might this have changed, or how would this have been different? At this point in time, I was involved in creating mostly bracelets, which were systems of structures which responded to your body movement to change forming and create a more dynamic piece. And so you can see my process would be hand drawing and then going into traditional kind of light model making. And those are some of the various bracelet forms that came out of that. Oops. This is representative of a group of work that was reflecting on cascading water. I've been talking to people saying it's my fluid dynamics. And you can see that I'm doing things like plotting out these structures, and maybe those would be things that would be facilitated by technology, but I keep going in my thoughts during my experience here of going, well, what is the loss and what is the gain, and what is the benefit? You know, is it time? Is it more precision? And I realized in my own work, these are examples and a close-up of the structures of those pieces. So it's taking very rigid materials and creating very fluid forms from it. And I realized in my own work, I feel like I'm moving further away from the precision that the technology would have allowed me, at least the design technology would have allowed me in that previous work. These are studies for a his and hers brooch set commission. And I've also been teaching foundations three-dimensional design in a very low-tech environment. So my own work began to be influenced by this planar construction that we'd be doing there and how that could be translated in metal. So this is just to show the range, and there are boxes more of this exploration. And my thoughts and my experience here now have been, could I simulate some of those things and not have to put in the time to create as many models? So this is the his and hers brooch set, where the his brooch and the hers brooch unite to create the corsage flower. My interest in jewelry feels so different from a lot of the things that are being presented today, because it's very much about a private and personal experience as much as about a public display object. And so I'm always very involved in the details and the experience that only the wearer would have in things like the details of the back of the piece. But I think that the forms have become even more expressive and less conducive to industrial manufacturing processes. Here I am using a process that is somewhat related to an industrial manufacturing process, but it's a low-tech version of it that's been adapted for the studio metalsmith. And I was thinking if a simulation program would save me some of that as well. So it's a kind of, people keep asking me if it's vacuum forming. It's die forming. It's a hydraulic press and very thin metal. But I go through a lot of time just exploring what will happen, and became more interested in the distortions of the process rather than some intended result. those are some of the pendants created with those. So these are the design explorations and development for my most recent work, which is a series of brooches based on the silhouette form is derived from a flower corsage, and the surface forms are botanical medicines. So that I have realized that in the meantime, I've become totally dependent on my computer for my design process, even though I'm doing it in a fairly remedial way, where I'm drawing, scanning, altering, pasting, scanning again. As my CAD skills increase, perhaps that would be become less remedial. And these are the pieces from it. And they are mild steel, and everything is hand cut and hand fabricated. And the base of these presentation boxes, which I made for the pieces, which refer to old-fashioned corsage boxes, had photo imagery underneath the piece of plexiglass that referenced both the botanical medicine and the original flower corsage. So, in my experience here, I've been really fascinated with the people in the studio I've been working with to recognize so much correlation between the craftsmanship of working directly with the materials and the craftsmanship involved in using the CAD processes. And I think that it really is only limited by the individual. I mean, I can let myself, in directly manipulating material, be limited by my own skills, or I can develop my skills further to create the object with the qualities that I choose. I've never been, in my own work, technically driven. It's never been about technique. It's been about a form that I envision and how can I arrive at that form. But I would say that my form reference is certainly informed by the things I'm aware of and how they can be made. And that's what I see as being really expanded somewhat by the things I've been exposed to here. In my conclusion after the experience here, I would say that I view craftsmanship as a way of doing things, and that it's regardless of what process you're using and regardless of what type of object you're creating. I think it's totally different in my practice that I'm not dealing with a client. I'm not dealing with, I mean, I don't make the work with a client in mind. I make it as self-expression, and hopefully it finds someone. And I don't have to deal with any of those regulations or time constraints of that type of commercial practice. So that's my thought.